Hello everyone and welcome to session 3 of the GMS training. Today we will cover past game information, roster numbers, and ratios. My name is Mary Alba and I'm the Southwest Program Specialist out of the Grand Rapids office. So as you can see, we'll start with person lookup by event, what information you'll find looking in events, a couple of reports you can run from events, then some information on roster numbers and how to run a report on them. Finally, we'll take a moment to look at the important ratios for events. I want to give a special shout out to Area 5 today, as they are our example area. Here's another little look at what we will be discussing. So we're going to start with person lookup. Person lookup is a lot like a search bar. You often use it when you're using GMS to search an athlete by last name or first name or any information. Here are a couple of instructions on how to do it exactly, but I also am going to give you a little demonstration. There are pictures included in this presentation on exactly the step-by-step process to doing this method, but I'll show you as well. So when you open up your GMS screen, you normally will go to this Find People by Personal Data, but today we're going to do Find People using advanced criteria. You're going to first choose your groups. Today I'm going to be choosing Area 5, but say you're an area like Area 8 that has a lot of different choices of delegation because it's broken up. You can choose any of those to look in, or you can use the area as a whole. So again, I'm going to use Area 5. Next is people types. This is where you're going to look at athletes or coaches specifically, maybe unified partners, volunteers. In this case, I'm going to look just at athletes that were in these events. And as always, I always check the inactive just in case any athlete could have been made inactive since the last time you looked in their profile. This gives no hidden athletes. The next step, and the most important one, is to use this lookup method, add another filter. When you click on that, it has a bunch of different choices that you can look through. So you can play around with this later and see different things that you can search. Today, I'm just going to search games registration. So when I add games registration, I'm now able to look up what event I'd like to look into. I'm going to scroll down today and look into the 2020 State Winter Games. There's also another section for roles. This is exactly like people types, and you only need to add it in one place, whether you like to look at athletes or anyone else. But I'm going to stick with just athletes. Then you press search. You're given all this information, name, date, birth, and what exactly the area they are in. But there's not much other information, but this way you can at least look at it, figure out who was in that event last year and who you would like to also bring back. It also just gives you a sneak peek into who is in that delegation. So next we're going to talk about looking in events. There's a couple things that you can do when looking in an event to find more information on your athletes. And the first way is when you click into the event to look by delegation. If you look by delegation, you can see bib number, sport, events, and a little extra information. This is what that would look like. So as you can see, they have the sports, all of the events that every athlete was entered into, and as well as their bib number. If you look further by clicking on an athlete, a new section will pop up that's not normally in their profile. And this includes qualifying score, bib number, and their events. This is also where you'll look before an event to see if you have the most up-to-date qualifying score or time available. Another way to look in an event to find information is to look by event. If you look in the event that you're specifically wondering about, you can see bib number, division, final score, and place after the event. However, this is not organized by delegation. It's all of the athletes that were participated in that event. So there's going to be athletes from every area that participated, and it's a little harder to figure out. So here's what that will look like. You can see there's a lot more information, but not all of these athletes are part of Area 5. They're actually a mixture of any athlete that did the 25-meter snowshoe race. So you'll have to search further that way. Let me show you a little step-by-step on how to do that. So to access any event, any games, you're going to click on this Games section. Scroll down, find the game that you want to choose. Click into it. To look by delegation, you're going to click on this Delegation tab. I'm going to be looking in Area 5s today. And this is what it looks like. It has a lot of information. And it's all Area 5, which is nice. So looking at an event, you go to the Events tab. You go to the sport that you'd like to choose. We're going to go with snowshoeing today. And then you click on the event that you'd like to choose. So here it comes up with all of the different athletes that participated. And yes, as you can see, in some instances, it's a long list. But you can alphabetize it by clicking on the name. And there's also a search bar right here that allows you to type in a name, and it shortens the list and makes it easier for you to find. So as long as you have your list of athletes that participated in that event specifically, you'll be able to find them pretty easily. The next topic we're going to cover is a couple of reports in the events. The first report we're going to talk about is delegation detail. I'm going to show you how to run this report, but an important thing to remember is that these reports must be entered and uploaded in an exact location. We're going to be sending 3 files that contain reports. If you weren't able to be on this call, give us an email and we'll get you those reports. Here are some instructions on how to do it, but I'm also going to show you. So when you open your event, it opens to this screen. Delegation detail report needs to be entered in reports and then advanced custom. So that's where you'll upload it and where you'll run it. So I have this entered already, but if you're entering this report for the first time, you're going to want to go to Load Settings, Load from a File, and when you get sent these reports, these files, you're going to want to save them in your desktop in a special folder, wherever you can get to them so that you can enter them. You'll click on Delegation Detail, press Open, and it just opens up for you. The only real thing you need to change for this one is making sure you select a delegation. So I'm going to stick with Area 5 for this report. You can change any roles you'd like to add or change, exclude anybody. I'm going to be having this print to my screen so it's easier for you to see. But there's a couple different options that you can choose from. And if you choose another option, it will have you save it to a certain place on your computer. Then you press Print. These reports can take some time when they're running because they have to gather all the information from all the athletes. This is what that report will look like. It includes all of their events that they participated in, any qualifying scores, expiration dates, and it also gives some information on some of the custom fields that you fill out, such as bedwetter, housing room number, and uniform size. It's in alphabetical order, and it is also ordered by role. So you'll see it starts with athletes, coaches, then volunteers. The next report is the area games results. This is very similar to delegation detail, but as you can see in this important note, it needs to be entered in a different space. I cannot stress enough that it is really important that you remember where these get uploaded the first time you upload them. So for the area games results, if you're opening an event, you're going to go to User Tools, Advanced Exporter. I personally like this report section a little bit more because there's more that you can work with. So again, you're going to click Load Settings, Load from a File, and you're going to go back to where you had all of those files saved for your reports. Click on Area Games Results, open that up, and it comes up. This is where you can kind of make it your own. You can include a bunch of different information. We have both of the expiration dates, medical and consent, qualifying score, place, team, final score, role, delegation, a bunch of different information. But as you can see over here, there's a bunch of different options on what you can add, including custom fields, which I know many areas still use. So look through those and you might be able to add it or even change it around. You're going to go to Delegation because you want to make sure you select your delegation. And then you can look in these to see if you'd like to change anything else. I'm having this saved as a Microsoft Excel because of the way it opens up. And you can also save it on your desktop. So I will save it as Area 5. Then you press Export. You'll click Open and View this file. And here it is. It is organized by athlete and by their events, so it lists all of their events in order. It gives their times. It also explains why they may not have a place or a time. You can see up here, it only lists expiration date as expiration date and expiration date 1. But it's very easy to go back to the screen and see the order that it ran in. So you can see the first one was the athlete medical and the second was the athlete consent. So you can change these to medical and consent. That way it's easier to follow it later when you're looking at this. So an important thing to do after all of these reports, especially the very first time, is to go ahead and click Save Settings. You want to save the settings so that it's always accessible to you whenever you want to run these reports, and it'll be available for every single event. Once you save settings, it'll be there for you whenever you need to run it. So remember, delegation detail gets entered in reports and advanced custom, and area games results gets entered in user tools and then advanced exporter. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about roster numbers. This is a list of all of the team roster sizes based on our program guide on page 63. So for every team sport, there is a minimum and a maximum amount of athletes. And yes, we do look very closely at this, both minimum and maximum. For every team sport, you can register 3 alternate players. And for unified sports, you can actually register 4 alternate players. And those 4 would be 2 athletes and 2 unified partners, where the athletes can replace athletes and the unified partners can replace only unified partners. This is an important visual aid that you may want to save for any sports. And again, it's on page 63 in the program guide. So roster numbers are important because they allow you to count your athletes on the team to make sure you're meeting those. And they also help you make sure that you're reaching the correct teams and the correct number of teams. I'm going to show you a report that we actually run ourselves at the state level to help areas figure out who is on their team, but you can also run at home. Believe it or not, sometimes when we are getting ready for an event, we have found that athletes have been registered but not entered on a team. And this gives you a little easier way to figure that out. I'm going to go to district basketball because this report can only be used for team sports. This report, like the delegation detail, needs to be opened in Reports and Advanced Custom. We'll cover that again at the end. You're going to go to Load Settings, Load from a File, and right where those other two were, you're going to choose Roster List by Delegation. Press Open, and it will open up. Again, I'm going to look at Area 5, and I have this printing to my screen. Then you press Print. Give it some time to think. And it'll show up on your desktop. From here, you can print it yourself or choose what you'd like to do with it. But it includes all of the athletes on your team, all of their medical expirations, and it also gives the alternates and lists them with it. So when you run this report, you can check all of the athletes, make sure they're on the correct team, and it's the correct number of athletes on that team. Keep in mind that if you do have alternate players, they can replace your athletes. But if you don't have any athletes listed as alternates during registration, then you can't have any replace those athletes. So if it comes to it, it's better to list alternates than to hope you won't need them. Here's a little step-by-step as well on how to do that. So finally, we will be talking about the important ratio for events. That important ratio is the 4-to-1 athlete to chaperone ratio, which means 4 athletes with every 1 chaperone. In that 4 athletes is all athletes and unified partners under 18. So if your group is athletes and unified partners under 18, then they have to be counted in that ratio. If your unified partners are over 18, then they do not. If you're a coach, you can be counted as one of the chaperones for your team or your sport. However, you can't be counted as a coach and a chaperone. You must still meet that 4-to-1 ratio. Get with your area directors to decide if any unified partners on your team could be counted as chaperones. If a unified partner is over 18 and meets all chaperone requirements, it is up to the area director if they can be counted as a chaperone. To be a chaperone, you must have the Volunteer A form filled out, and you must complete protective behaviors and the general orientation. Once all 3 of those are met, you can become a chaperone for that event. All coaches must complete those anyways. This is an important ratio to keep your athletes safe and to keep our events running as smoothly as possible. All of the results and divisioning that I've talked about today are also listed on our website. Here's some instructions on how to get to them, but I'll also show you. If you go to our website and go to Events, State Competitions, you can scroll down to choose the event that you would like to look at. Say today we're going to look at some poly hockey information. You'll click on this, scroll to the bottom. They're usually after the schedules. And you can see in the competition results section, they have the 2019 and the 2018, both poly hockey and unified bowling results. Sometimes it can even have up to 3 years. But if you need to look at these again, that's a good way to find them. My final point is to stress how important it is to remember where to upload these reports. Again, we're going to be sending you 3 files that include 3 reports. If you weren't able to join us on the training, then just shoot us an email and we can definitely send those to you. So for all of these reports, the first thing you're going to do, other than log into GMS, is to look in the event that you need to look at, whether that be Winter Games, basketball, poly hockey, any event that you need to look at. And it should be a past event that has already happened in order to get the most up-to-date information. For delegation detail, you're going to go into the report section, then click Advanced Custom. For the area games results report, you're going to go into User Tools, then click Advanced Exporter. And finally, for roster list by delegation, you're going to go again to the report section, then click Advanced Custom. I'll stay on the screen for you to take notes if needed. Once these reports are uploaded into your GMS and you've saved them to your GMS after, you shouldn't need to upload them again, but keep them in a special folder on your computer so that you can access them again if needed. Our next session, session 4, will be navigating the SOMI website. We'll take you through the website that we have and show you some important features that you might need. These are our emails if you're needing to get a hold of us. Any forms or questions related to your area will be sent to these emails. So contact Jill at somiforms@somi.org. If you're from a Northern and UP area, contact Julia at se.forms@somi.org if you're from a Southeast area. And contact myself, Mary, at sw.forms@somi.org if you're part of any Southwest area. We are happy to take your questions and more than willing to help you out. That is all for this training, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me on this.